Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to To Be Determined. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how this guy right behind me, Finnegan, is kind of buggy. We're also going to talk about Diana's new perk, which is pretty cool and useful. So if you guys end up enjoying the video, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. We're on our way to 12,000 subs. It's absolutely free and it helps me out a ton. So let's jump straight into it. So if we go over and let's say go to hub 1 and then we walk over and check out Finnegan, you will notice he has the blooming business perk, which is super cool and way more fun than his other perk, which we can see if we go over to hub 2 where he has the Pest Eradicator perk. This should not be a thing. He's supposed to have the same perk in every single lobby, but as you can see, depending on what lobby you're in, he'll either have this perk or the other one. And it doesn't just work like that in hub lobbies. It works like that on the garden too. It's not really a game-breaking bug, it's just kind of funny because you can kind of just choose out of the two perks which one you want. There's no lobbies that have like both perks active at the same time, but depending on what you would rather do, you can choose between them. But for most people, I would say you're probably going to want the blooming business perk. Let's go over the Pest Eradicator perk first. Basically, the duration of Pest Hunter Philip's farming fortune bonus is 60 minutes instead of 30, and pests are now 4 times more likely to spawn in sprayed plots. So basically pests will spawn in whatever plot you spray. I don't think they'll spawn more often, but they'll just spawn there instead of spawning in other plots. But if you're going for crop milestones, this one is definitely really good to go for. However, if you're more interested in money and SkyBlock XP, then the other one is the way. So let's go over to hub 1 and check that out. As you can see here, the blooming business perk makes all garden visitors reward fine flower and 10% extra copper. It also invites 5 unique visitors to your garden and makes higher rarity visitors 20% more likely to show up. So this way you're going to get more copper, you're going to get more farming XP, you're going to get fine flower, which also gives a decent amount of farming fortune, and not just against wheat. I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're going for SkyBlock XP or if you're going for money, this is the one that you're going to want to focus on. Let's go ahead and warp to my garden and I'll show you guys how it works. We look in tab, you can see I have a pest bonus for 8 minutes, which I can already tell means that I am going to be having the blooming business perk because I did activate my pest bonus like about 20 minutes ago. So if I had the Pest Eradicator perk, it would be active for another 38 minutes instead of just 8 minutes. So if we go down here and talk to Jamie, he should have fine flower as one of his rewards, and yes, he does. But you can also see we do have one of the new visitors right here, which is the Pest Wrangler. We talked to him. You can see that he would like to have a honey jar in return for 6 fine flower. So again, visitors is kind of how you're going to be able to tell which perk you have, and if they have fine flower, that is the good perk. That's the one that you want. Unless you are specifically focused on crop milestones, you're going to want this one, and even then, if you get some of these new unique visitors, that is going to increase your farming fortune based on the green thumb enchant if you have that on your equipment. So this is a pretty crazy bug that's going on right now, but it is very cool. And again, if you go into one of these lobbies and you see they don't have fine flower, all you got to do is warp out. You can kind of just sit around for a minute. As long as nobody's visiting you on your garden or your co-op's not on your garden, you can just wait for a second. Or back there, press tab to see if anything's changed. I can see I have 6 minutes on my bonus yet, so still don't have the Pest Eradicator perk, which in this scenario we would be going for. You really don't want to go for that, but if I was trying to swap lobbies and get a new perk, you can tell based off of that, or again, based off of your visitors. If they do have fine flower, then they have the blooming business perk, which again, is the one that you want. It is so much better. Now, the amount of fine flower you get from these visitors is going to be based on their rarity. So these common guys that don't have any new special things are just going to be regular 1 fine flower. The rare ones do give 3, which is pretty nice. But you can see this Pest Wrangler, the new one, he is going to give a total of 6. Even though he's uncommon. That's because he is one of these special visitors that only shows up during this perk while Finnegan is active. So he gets some extra fine flower. But as I said, there are a total of 5 new visitors. So let's go over those. If we go to the wiki, it says there's only 4, which is incorrect, as I will show you in a moment. There's the baker, the Vinyl Collector, the Pest Wrangler, and the Ravenous Rhino. What you should know about these is they generally give Fine Flower a little bit more than the other visitors of the same rarity, except for the Baker, who is going to give Copper for giving in Fine Flower. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a moment. Once you've gotten 50 unique visitors, the Ravenous Rhino also has a chance to appear in your garden, and he will give a guaranteed dedication 4 book. So if you get this guy and you get a dedication 4 book, GG, those are worth a lot of money. So definitely want to be aiming for this guy. This is where all the money is at. But if we go to the garden visitors on the wiki page, you can scroll down and see the new ones. The first one is the one we have on our island right now, the Pest Wrangler. If Finnegan wasn't elected, basically he can't show up, but if you waited until after Finnegan was elected to claim him, so he showed up while Finnegan was elected and then the next election ended and someone else was mayor or minister, he would give 5 Fine Flower. Ours gives 6 because Finnegan is still mayor, so Finnegan makes him give an extra Fine Flower. Next up, there's the Vinyl Collector, which gives 15 Fine Flower. I don't think he gives anything else special. I don't know what he claims. It's probably, if I had to guess, a vinyl. Probably ask for a specific vinyl from a specific type of pest, and then he'll give you the flower in exchange for that. So you may want to start holding on to your vinyls if you get those. But again, his requirement is Finnegan be elected with the blooming business perk. But as you can see, the Baker will show up with a different requirement. So he only requires that you have 3,000 Fine Flower exported, which is from Carolyn on the Crimson Isle. Basically, if we look in our sacks and garden sack and grab out the Fine Flower that I already have, we can take this too and warp over to the Crimson Isle. And if you guys haven't seen Carolyn before, she spawns over in the mage faction side of the island. There's a special house towards the back right of the island. As you can see, I'm standing right here next to the main statue here. It's basically just in front of that at this building with stained glass windows. Go inside, go up the ladders, and she's right here. So for this example, I'm just going to give her 1. But basically, after you've exported 3,000 of these, given 3,000 of them to Carolyn, then the Baker can show up. Unfortunately, until somebody does this, we're not really going to know what he gives. Because as you can see here on the wiki, it doesn't show what his options to give are, or even what his options for what he requests are. So we won't know for a while. But here you can see there is the Pest Wrangler ? He's a legendary NPC that shows up exclusively in the garden as a visitor. He'll only show up when Finnegan is elected as mayor or minister with his blooming business perk, and he awards 50 Fine Flowers. So as you can see, he's not really a Pest Wrangler. He is like 3 rats in a trench coat trying to disguise himself as the actual Pest Wrangler, but his perks are pretty cool, you know, an extra 50 Fine Flower is nice. But again, we don't really know what he asks for. And finally, there's the Ravenous Rhino, which we already talked about. We'll give a guaranteed dedication 4 book. Who knows what he asks for, but it's probably worth it. You will have to have served 50 unique visitors, and he will only show up while Finnegan has his blooming business perk, but it is still a very good visitor, very good perk from that. Now, the other things you can do with Fine Flower, you don't actually have to give it to Carolyn or to any of the NPCs for that matter. You can just use it for the spray. It does give 20 farming fortune on whichever plots you spray it on. So if you're planning on farming for the next little bit, you can just spray it down on a plot to give yourself an extra 20 farming fortune, which is pretty nice. Especially seeing as it is a little expensive right now, but the sprays do last, I believe, 20 minutes each. Or no, it lasts 30 minutes. So 30 minutes of 20 extra farming fortune. Again, won't be that great on one plot, especially if you have a build like mine where it goes all the way down 5 plots across the entire garden. You will have to spray 5 times in order to cover the whole thing for the next 30 minutes. So if we're going for 5 Fine Flowers, at the moment that's 300k, so you probably won't make that back, but it is an option. So if they decide to, or if the prices go down in the future, you know, it may be better to use this for that. But as you can see, I now have 28 minutes of bonus pests or bonus fortune from pests available. So that means that I no longer have the perk. These guys aren't offering Fine Flower anymore because I swapped lobbies. So the Pest Wrangler still offers 5 instead of 6, but if we get back to a good lobby that has the perk that we want, then he will offer 6 again. There is one more thing I want to cover real quick with Diana. Basically, she has her brand new perk. She only has 1. The other 3 are the same as they've always been. But basically, in the top right here, you have EXP sharing, which is available to these 2 extra slots because Diana is in office. So make sure to equip a pet to these 2 slots so you get some extra EXP share. But that's really the only new stuff with her. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hopefully the admins will have this patched up soon so this doesn't happen too much in the future. Thankfully this time it's not really that big of a deal, but I could see it being a problem on whether or not you get into a lobby where there is a mining fiesta active or if it's not. So hopefully it gets patched soon, but in the meantime, we'll have some fun with it. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless.